Guys, 2020 has been a weird year, to say the least. Liberals are probably freaking out because we just had Trump basically be endorsed by Osama bin Laden's niece a few days ago, right? And now he's been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. So I guarantee you the liberal tears are being cried as we speak. But before we get into that, my name is Greg Foreman. You're watching A Conservative Black Perspective. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. You can also follow me on Twitter at GForemanBCP. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at GForemanBCP. Let's get it. All right. So a Norwegian official had nominated President Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. Take a listen to his reasoning behind it.
Today, President Trump has been nominated for the Peace Prize for 2021, just weeks after helping to broker peace between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. The nomination was submitted by Christian Tybring-Gjedde, a member of the Norwegian Parliament, who lauded President Trump for his efforts in solving protracted conflicts worldwide.
He has done what Alfred Nobel said he was supposed to do if you want to get the Peace Prize.
Christian Tybring-Gjedde is a member of the Norwegian Parliament.
In Alfred Nobel's will, he's stating three conditions. The first one is fellowship among nations, and he has done that through all these negotiations between nations. It's reduction of standing armies. He has reduced the number of troops in the Middle East. And the third criteria is promotion of peace congresses. And his latest effort, which resulted in the peace between UAE and Israel, is a tremendous effort, and this could be to inspiration for other Arab nations to make peace with Israel. It's really worth the Nobel Peace Prize.
This recent effort, as the administration will call it, success concerning Israel's recognition of the UAE and UAE's recognition of Israel, shared diplomatic relations. Why do you believe it's so significant?
If you look at the history of the Middle East and Israel, it's been also a hostile conditions for as long as you can remember. And if you know the history, you know the conditions both in the Arab world and in Israel. And you look at the other people who have gotten the Peace Prize, they have doing the Oslo Accord, as been dealing in the Middle East, and also the Camp David Agreement in 1979 is also dealing with the peace efforts in the Middle East, meaning that it's a very, very important region in the world, and all efforts that leads to peace in that region should be awarded with a Nobel Peace Prize, and also for Donald Trump.
All right, so essentially what he says that he has nominated President Trump because he feels that President Trump basically deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts with peace in the Middle East, namely the Israeli-UAE peace deal that he helped broker. It is expected that some other countries in the Middle East are going to follow suit with this kind of similar peace deal with Israel, which is a big deal. So also not to mention, President Trump was nominated by this same official back, I think a couple years ago, or maybe last year, for his role in the North Korea-South Korea peace agreement, or attempted peace agreement, in which, Trump had the summit with the North Korean leader, which was historic, right? In and of itself, right? Again, Trump, it's like anything this man does good, he just doesn't get credit for. The media doesn't care. Like, it's just so funny for me to think about, because I'm literally about to talk about how much I actually think that Trump's foreign policy from a military perspective has been pretty good. I think it's been better than Obama's. I think that Trump has displayed a lot of strength, exactly what he said. And I think he's been mindful and very tactful of the things that he's trying to do. Now, I'm one of those people that, I am not naive enough to believe that the president controls that much of what goes on with our military from a foreign policy perspective. I think that the military is kind of his own thing. And that's why every single president that comes into office always promises to, we're going to pull out the troops, we're going to cut the military budget. And essentially cutting the military budget is a non-starter, right? The military industrial complex is way too strong. But considering, the control President Trump does have to a certain extent, I think he's done a pretty nice job. I mean, look at some of the examples. But I think, what he did good is that, earlier this year, people, before the COVID thing, people was like, oh man, Trump's about to start World War III with Iran when he took out General Soleimani. When that happened, I approved of it, right? I wasn't freaking out like everybody else. Like, if they attacked our embassy, right, which is allegedly what happened, right? You only can take some of these things with a grain of salt regardless. But they allegedly attacked our embassy, and the military was going to try to kill this guy. They was just waiting on the okay from the president, right? They've been trying to kill this dude since, I think, like the Bush era or even the Clinton era. And essentially, I mean, like I said, he went with the most extreme option. At first, he was going to get back at the Iranian Shia militant group that actually conducted the attack, but he went with the most extreme option. And I think in a situation like that, if you want to show power, you have to step it up in terms of what you're willing to do, right? And I think a lot of people criticize President Trump for that, but I thought that was the wise thing to do, right? If you want to avoid future conflict, sometimes you got to show them, like, listen, if y'all want to go to war, we can go to war. And I think that's what that move showed, right? To go ahead and take him out. And you see what happened. Everybody's freaking out. Oh, we got to go to war with Iran. Got to go with Iran. All they do is shoot some missiles into the dirt, and then they turn around and tell their people, oh man, we unleashed, I think he said, like, death and destruction on a U.S. military base, and they literally did nothing. Literally nothing at all. They shot some missiles into the dirt. They know damn well they didn't want that smoke. And President Trump, no, they didn't want that smoke. People look at situations like that and think Trump's being reckless, and I just don't really agree with that. Personally, I think that, again, you got to sometimes, take your dick out and let them know how big it is, and you can end everything from there. You notice how after that, nothing else from Iran, right? Nothing else, right? But again, the media doesn't talk about stuff like that. And I think Trump's strategy in Syria has been working pretty well. It looks like that we put basically a stranglehold on their economy. We really put Russia in kind of a quagmire in terms of whether to keep backing them economically, also considering how their gas prices and oil prices have dropped as well, along with the sanctions that we have put on them, which people want to accuse Trump of being in bed with the Russians, but we've been very hard on Russia throughout his whole administration. Again, it's just like the narrative is crazy, man. But anyways, he hasn't pulled out the troops like he's promised to, but again, he only has so much control over that, right? Like, you don't want to create another vacuum where you can have ISIS, step back up and become a major power like it was under the Obama administration. That's another thing. Trump has done a great job of taking down the Islamic State and really reducing their presence in Syria and in Iraq. So again, great job there. I think that goes back to kind of what the Norwegian official was talking about with Trump and talking about his, willingness to try to bring peace, in the Middle East. I mean, I can't think of any time since the Bush and Obama administration where we've been as peaceful as we are right now in the Middle East. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still, hell on earth in some parts of the Middle East, but, we don't have a Islamic caliphate like we did in, the Obama administration in a full-scale war in Iraq. Matter of fact, I think Trump is the only president in a while that hasn't escalated a major conflict in the Middle East. And then also, you talk about the North Korea, South Korea situation. Where Trump was the first president, I think, to meet with the North Korean leader since the Korean War, which is historic, right? And the thing is that's how you broker peace. A lot of people, criticize Tulsi Gabbard for meeting with Assad, and I'm like, what do you want a leader to do? You want a leader not to meet with the enemy? How are you supposed to know your enemy? How are you supposed to beat your enemy if you don't meet with them, get to know them, know their mannerisms, know what they like? Like, that's like basic stuff, man. And like I said, it's the same thing with Trump meeting with Kim Jong-un. It's just like, I don't have a problem with that, right? Matter of fact, I think that's what you should be doing. You should try to develop some type of relationship. Now, I mean, the relationship between the North Korea and the U.S. is still rocky because, we want them to give up their nukes, and North Korea is like, no, we're not giving up our nukes, which honestly, I don't really blame them for, because if they give up their nukes, we probably going to end up invading them. But, at the end of the day, I think Trump's done a good job, right? He's brought the Korean Peninsula closer to peace than it's ever been, right? He does not get enough credit for that, in my opinion. So, you know, that's the type of stuff where you look at when the Trump foreign policy, which I think has been a bright spot on his resume. He doesn't get enough credit for, and I think he does deserve a Nobel Peace Prize, because I know, some of you guys, I don't know how you feel about Nobel Peace Prize. Obama received it in 2009, and this dude didn't do nothing yet. He ain't had a chance to do nothing. We can talk about affirmative action, talk about privilege. Like, come on now, right? Like, why else did they give him the Nobel Peace Prize? Like, just think about it. Like, come on now. But, this dude gets in office, and look at some of Obama's record that went on in the Obama administration from a foreign policy perspective. I mean, with deportations, and some people want to call Trump a racist for his stance on illegal immigration. But I mean, he's deported way less people than Obama has deported. Him bombing civilians in the Middle East. I think this dude has killed American citizens in the Middle East. His foreign policy is so murky that a lot of people that were praising his Nobel Peace Prize that he won in 2009, came back and was like, yo, it was way too early. We kind of jumped the gun on that with President Obama. I mean, we wish we wouldn't have done it. Like anything else, I think is a matter of perspective. But, when it comes to foreign policy stuff, like I said, I think Trump has done a great job with the amount of control that he does have. Again, I'm not one of those people that believe that the president really has as much control as the media try to make it out to be when it comes to foreign policy, and the military. I think that for what the cards he was given, I think that he's done, like I said, a great job. And I think that he is deserving of a Nobel Peace Prize, especially if the standard is what Obama has set it at. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to A Black Conservative Perspective, and most importantly, share a Black Conservative Perspective. Peace.